So we were going to do this all year long to make us feel slightly better about the future of the Houston Texans, comparing their top draft picks, C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, to the other top draft picks at their positions. Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young at quarterback, Jalen Carter specifically on the defensive side of things. We did not think that we would have a pretty little win like we had on Sunday, 37-17. The Texans beat the Jaguars. That would actually allow us to talk about anything other than, well, the future's going to be great. But let's compare C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson to those other rookies in another episode of NFL Rookie Watch.
NFL Rookie Watch.
Why didn't the Texans lose the last game of the year so they could get Bryce Young?
2023.
Why did the Texans trade up for Will Anderson?
Young man. I said young man.
We're talking about young men.
I said young man.
By the way,
I said
could you hear that? That was me patting myself on the back. Because
I actually picked up on the mic. You're slapping the hell out of me.
I really did. I am so happy that I am turning out correct in being the one person who acted like it wasn't that big of a deal that they won the last game of the year. Because all of you people think that you know how things work in the NFL and what quarterbacks are going to be good and what quarterbacks aren't, even though every single year we're so wrong about so many guys. But guess what? C.J. Stroud is the only first-round rookie quarterback that played on Sunday. So if we're power ranking C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Bryce Young, Stroud has overtaken Richardson. Last week, Richardson was number one, even though he was out of the game early. He didn't play on Sunday. So Stroud, now number one. Richardson, number two. Bryce Young did not play on Sunday either. He is number three. Stroud has been doing something pretty incredible that Davis Mills was never going to be able to do for this team. C.J. Stroud on third downs in 2023. First in touchdown to interception ratio. First in passing yards. First in completions. Tied for first in passing touchdowns. Tied for first in big passing plays of 20-plus yards. Second in completion percentage. Second in passer rating. And the Texans have found themselves in some pretty dangerous third downs given the whole offensive line and issues that they have been having. I know a lot of you were pushing back on what C.J. Stroud could be because he didn't have a very good Wonderlic score. But through 3 weeks, I am having a hard time understanding why people would not jump on the bandwagon other than they just hate the Houston Texans, the ownership group, and how bad it's been over the last couple of years. Okay, let's compare Will Anderson to Jalen Carter. Will Anderson is tied for second in the NFL in pass rush wins. Only Micah Parsons has more. That's pretty good. Parsons has 23. Anderson has 16. He still has just one sack, but obviously he blocked the field goal. This is what DeMeco Ryans had to say about Will Anderson at yesterday's press conference.
What Will does on the field is why we drafted him, right? He's a consistent player. He plays with an edge, a relentless mindset every single day, whether it's practice, whether it's a game, and that's why it's important to add him, right, to what we're trying to build here. And he represents everything that I believe in and how you play football. He plays the game the right way. He plays it with an edge, with intensity, right? And it means a lot to him. That's why he's one of our leaders, because he proves it just by how he works every single day. And for us to take the next step, right, as an organization, as a football team, I want 53 guys who play like Will Anderson.
I want 53 guys who play like Will Anderson. #swarm. Isn't it very obvious that it was DeMeco Ryans who was pushing for Will Anderson? You have the Alabama ties, and I think that we have heard in the past that DeMeco Ryans actually has had some pretty good takes scouting-wise as part of draft war rooms with San Francisco. But he very clearly, was the one I think that pushed for Anderson. I still want to know who ultimately signed off on CJ Stroud and what that thought process was. Was it disappointment that Bryce Young was not going to be available? Did the Texans ownership say, hey, you can't take Will Anderson second overall. You have to take a quarterback. You have to take CJ Stroud. It seems like they've really stumbled into something awesome. And Sean, to circle back to how we were talking about this right after the draft happened, we were excited in the first 2 days, 3 days. But then when you started wondering about how the pick was made, it did feel like there are some very past Texans teams vibes going on here.
It did definitely feel like it was one for Caserio and ownership, or I don't even know if Caserio. It might have just been one for the McNairs, one for D'Amico. Nick Caserio, make it all work out. Who cares? Trade next year's pick. I don't care.
And here we are. You feel very good about both of these picks to this point. And okay, maybe Will Anderson isn't the next coming of God, like a lot of people believed he had to be to merit the Texans trading what they did to go and get him.
Probably not going to be the next coming of God. Although that's a controversial statement.
That is a controversial statement. How would you know?
True.
What if the second coming of God had given himself the nickname of Terminator?
I'd be terrified.
I'd be a little nervous. I would be a little nervous.
Worst nickname he could have.
It would be a little nervous. Jalen Carter. Meanwhile, the other guy that the Texans could have taken, he has been very good. And I do think it is fair to make comparisons between the two. There were obviously some off-the-field concerns with Carter, but he forced fumbles on back-to-back plays last night. He has 1.5 sacks on the year. He had a half sack of Baker Mayfield. So he's been very good. I do think that it could have worked for Jalen Carter here in Houston. They got Will Anderson, and here we are. So that's going to wrap up NFL Rookie Watch 2023. You're feeling pretty damn good about the guys that the Texans got. And by the way, we haven't even mentioned Tank Dell, who was dope on Sunday.
Have you watched the All 22 and I
had to watch the All 22.
My Tank Dell grade after watching All 22.
Dope.
Dope.
Oh, God, for real.
Dope player.
100. I mean, they found him in the third round.
Mm-hmm. What if it came out that
CJ Stroud asked for the Texans to draft Tank Dell, and that actually is how it went down? It wasn't their own evaluation and scouting. Yeah. It was because they colluded with each other to make it happen.
What if it came out that Nick Caserio played no part in drafting any of these guys? The McNair said you had to get a quarterback, so you picked Stroud. Ryan said you had to get an Alabama defender, so you had to get Will Anderson. And then CJ Stroud said you had to get Tank Dell.
I do want to be the Skip Bayless of Houston. And just like I'm defending Dusty Baker right now, I would defend Nick Caserio through that.
I just want to say, all the people criticizing Caserio, that is what you have to run with, is that none of these guys were his picks. Cal McNair, great football mind, said, give me CJ Stroud.
Or Hannah.
Might have
been Hannah McNair.
The McNairs, as a brain trust, as two people coming together as one in the bondage of marriage, they also made the CJ Stroud pick.
I don't believe in many things, Sean. The institution of marriage is one that scares me. The idea of a partnership for life. But I gotta say, the love that those two have, not just for each other, not just for the city of Houston, but for the Houston football Texans. I was like, what makes me believe, Sean? I'm crying right now.
I was going to say, what is the third thing that they love?
Just roll with me here, okay?